like boobies. You like boobies. Vicky likes boobies.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Now, are there any damn questions?
Have you any idea what the street value of this mountain is?
This is a nice fish, you know? Big fucking eyes, but a nice fucking fish.
No topic too absurd, no statement too asinine, no question too interesting. You saw the title, you know it's another Nerdaties interview show. I am, as ever, Mike. That is...
Justin.
And our guest this week is...
No, I was waiting for you guys to pull it over me. My bad.
We're very professional.
Okay, yeah. So, Rich Davis, writer-creator of the World of Dracula series, Cult of Dracula, Rise of Dracula, Reign of Dracula, and Prometheus in Chains. And I'm here to talk about a brand new book called Angel Hunter, which is going live on Kickstarter April 25th, and it'll be out in comic book stores later this year.
All right, great. What's the basic breakdown? I saw in the Kickstarter, angels fall from grace, is trying to survive. Now, that's not really enough for an elevator pitch. So you want to give a little more juice?
Yeah, absolutely. So Angel Hunter is a seinen manga-inspired epic dark fantasy told in the American comic book style. It's about humanity's first strides after being expelled from Eden, and humans have to claw out an existence in a world dominated by the 13 fallen angels and their army of kaiju Nephilim.
That is a perfect breakdown. And I'm very happy for you that you get to talk about it on shows, because I see the title and I automatically think Angel/Hunter. But you don't say the slash, right?
Yeah, well, you don't say the slash, but it's, it's like, it's kind of a common thing in anime and manga that I've noticed. Of course, you've got Hunter x Hunter and things like that, but they do a lot of things with slashes. Yeah. But there's a lot to that title. You can take it, there's an angel and a hunter. You can also take it that there's an angel hunter. So a lot of different meanings to that title. And, you'll find all that out if you check the book out, which I hope you do.
Okay. Manga tends to have a certain pace to it. Obviously, it's hit the manga visual style, but it tends to have a story pace to it. Would you say you've kept to that version of storytelling, or have you Americanized it a bit more?
A little bit of both. Sometimes manga can extend story arcs a little longer than American comics. So while we do spend a good bit of time developing the world and developing the characters, we have a little bit of a faster pace to it. Our manga style is going to be a lot more similar to Berserk, Attack on Titan, Battle Angel Alita, things like that, things that move a little bit. So it's a seinen manga rather than a shonen manga, and it's the shonen manga that's aimed at a younger audience that really tends to draw the fights out. We don't do that. It's the first volume of Angel Hunter. It's 96 pages of absolute adrenaline-fueled action. I mean, we take where we start. Imagine if the Empire hit every planet in the Republic at the same time. And we are, that's what's happening. A character named Aiden is leading an army of men and kaiju and some really cool kind of steampunk-inspired weapons. He's leading them on a crusade through the land of Edessa, which is the only place that humanity's been able to find a home. They've managed to build one city. It's called Lycidia, and it's where the temple to the Radiant God and the Earth Mother exist. And everywhere else for humans, it's like little villages, little settlements, some nomadic cultures as well. And they're all under attack by this just seemingly unbeatable army. And during that battle, we're going to visit the villages of our 3 special children. You know, if you've read any manga, that's a standard trope. You always have 3 kids, they're special, and they learn that they have powers, and they get to develop them, and they grow. And that's where our book really differentiates itself from American comics. We meet these kids as kids, and we're going to watch them grow into teenagers, young adults. They'll become adults, they'll age, and eventually they'll die and pass the torch on to a new generation. It's not going to be Batman, Bruce Wayne being 28 years old since like 1938. You know, our characters, they grow, they age, they die, and when they die, they don't come back. They're Uncle Ben dead.
More of an Avatar Korra kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Attack on Titan was a big influence on me. Naruto, being a shonen manga that influenced, Naruto had a huge influence on a character named Go. He's a paraplegic warrior with this absolute unyielding heart. He will not surrender. He will not give up. He's Naruto. He just, you know, he doesn't have these natural abilities, but it's his heart, it's his courage, it's that drives him. And eventually he's going to find out that, and this, you know, is no big deal. It happens in the first when we introduce him. He's going to find out that he can borrow the powers of the beast gods, and that gives him the opportunity to have legs and to move and to fly and things like that. But the catch is, the more he uses those abilities, the closer he becomes to becoming a beast himself. So the characters all have these really awesome positive aspects, but then they've also got these really equally powerful, maybe even more powerful flaws.
Yeah, you got to have that balance in there. Like you say Naruto, but with that description, I hear Foggy Nelson.
Okay.
That warm, guiding light, except with a little more, I don't know, pulse these days.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can dig that.
Yeah. So it's a story about angels and divinity and whatnot. Is there any personal faith connection to the story, or is you just pulling from classic stories to build your own?
So I am a person of faith. You know, that's out there. I'm not. I don't hide it. But this story, when I was writing it, what I have to do when I'm writing a story that deals with religion, I have to view them all as mythologies. So I pull in Angel Hunter, we pull from Christian mythology, but it's not really the Bible. It's the apocryphal books, like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Lilith, things like that. Because really most of what we know about angels doesn't come from the Bible. Angels, with the fall and Lucifer and Satan, they're very rarely mentioned. But, you know, the whole thing about the war in heaven, the angels being cast out, that doesn't come from the Bible. It comes from the Apocrypha. A lot of it comes from Jewish holy texts, and a good deal of it actually comes from Muslim texts. So we draw from all of those. But what I have to do in order to be able to tell the story, I have to look at Christian, Jewish, and Islamic religions as the same way as I would look at Greek mythology or Norse mythology. You treat it as stories with characters, and you take the divinity out of it.
You separate your personal perspective or your spiritual perspective and just create a thing using that framework.
Because, you know, I'm not here to preach. You know, I'm not here to convert the masses. I'm here to tell a story. And I'm here to tell a story that's going to engage people, you know, from all walks of life. You know, Christians, atheists, agnostics, Buddhists. You know, it's a story that I think everyone can engage with, because most cultures, maybe every culture, has some form of angelic character in them. So I think everybody can relate to it, even though the premise seems like it might be based on a Christian religion, when it's really not. It's a mythology.
Yeah, kind of like Evangelion has angels, but I've never seen angels like that before. So
right, and you're not going to see angels like we have.
Yeah,
they're pretty different and pretty amazing, because we really deal mostly with the fallen angels, the 13 fallen angels that were cast out of heaven during the what we're calling the first war of the fallen. And when they get cast to earth, they don't stay very angelic. They become more like demons, more like kaiju, and that's where we get to really expand ourselves and pull from other mythologies, because we use those figures from, say, Norse mythology or Japanese mythology, in that way. So it's pretty cool what we do with the angels. They're not the cute little, Raphael, chubby little angels with wings.
Not very cherubic.
No. But we do have cherubs. They look a little bit different because, if you go back to the choirs of angels, they're pretty wild. I mean, like there's one choir of angels. It's a giant wheel with eyeballs. They're pretty rad.
Yeah. Now, I checked out the Kickstarter page, the pre-Kickstarter, I don't know what the term is for it, and it's listed as 96 to 120 pages. Are you deciding how to break down the volumes, or is that what you have done so far? I just wanted to let everyone know on that.
Yeah, so we're deciding on how much bonus content we're going to have in the first volume. The way I've projected Angel Hunter, it's going to be 10 volumes of 96 pages. The first volume is the shortest, it's 96 story pages. Every volume after that's going to be in the range of 120 to 144. So when we're finished with the entire story, Les and I will have produced well over 1,000 story pages. So this is an epic. This is this is a thing that I think is going to occupy the next 6 or 7 years of my life.
Is it going to be the main focus, or do you have to keep bouncing around between things?
I'll keep writing other things. I still have more to do with my World of Dracula series. I've been invited to write some books for other companies, which is going to be really cool. But Angel Hunter really, I think it's going to be my focus. I have the same feeling about Angel Hunter that I had when I wrote Cult of Dracula. I really feel like we've got something special, something that's going to hit audiences in a certain way, and something that has the potential to be developed beyond just the manga page. Cult of Dracula has been optioned for a television series. I can see Angel Hunter being developed into an anime. We're even talking about a trading card game with a company that makes those, and a tabletop game as well. So Angel Hunter, I think it's going to be more than just comic books. I really do believe we've got something special here.
Justin and I are also comic creators, not as prolific as we should be, and definitely not as prolific as yourself. And the main story we focus on is also based around monsters and based around Dracula. Ours is a bit more of a sympathetic version of the character.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything, haven't had the time to see anything of yours yet. Is that an element of your Dracula, or is he the rip and tear version?
No, it's a little bit of both. So Dracula in my world is a woman. It goes back all the way to Lilith. Lilith was the first Dracula. Dracula is a title more than a name, and it's passed down through a certain bloodline from generation to generation. So Dracula is every scary, dark, outcast woman that lives on the fringes of society that we've written all these scary stories about. La Llorona, Baba Yaga, the Cherokee Deer lady. Those were all Dracula interpreted differently by the cultures who observed her and the time period that they live in. And where we join Dracula, where we meet her in Cult of Dracula, Cult of Dracula is very, very, very close to the Dracula story. So it's Bram Stoker's Dracula in a Manson family-inspired cult. And our Dracula is noble in one way, in that she really legitimately does want to save the world, which we find out more about in Rise of Dracula, the sequel. But she goes about it by reducing the human population down to breeders, soldiers, food, and pets. And if you don't fit one of those categories, you're gone. And that really comes into play in Rise of Dracula. It's more of a near future dystopia. I like to compare it to Escape from New York, things like that. And then Reign of Dracula is just a very trippy, adrenaline-fueled George Miller, the world is fucked book. It gets really trippy as we tumble through hell and the different types of hell and heaven, and we pull in ideas of the afterlife from all kinds of other cultures. And then we also have this really cool Armageddon-style war raging on Earth with these not only Dracula but also different houses of vampires. We really expand the vampire mythology in Reign of Dracula.
That's one of the things early on in our writing that I like to bring up a lot is when you have something that's so well established like vampires, one of the most fun things is to play with it, to alter your version of the lore, because that's one of the only things that stands out. There's so many versions of vampires, so many versions of Dracula, you got to put your own stamp on it.
Yeah, the one thing I knew I didn't want to do with my World of Dracula series, I didn't want to tell a story about a pasty white dude in a tuxedo with those people coming to Victorian London. There's nothing I can do with that story. It has been done and redone so many times in so many different mediums. It doesn't ever need to be retold again. It's like Batman's origin. It doesn't need to be ever touched again. You've got it already, and if you haven't read it, there's a million different ways and places that you can read it. So I wanted to do something different, and I really went deep into my research. I research way more than I should. I spend probably about 10 times longer researching my books than I do writing my books.
Well, that's a huge part of it. That's where you find a lot of the inspiration. You'll read something you've never heard of before, and that sparks and creates a tangent and sends you down to a place you needed to be.
Yep. And what I found in my research was our Western culture is one of the very few that has male vampires. In most cultures, vampires are female. It goes back to the myth of the succubi. That's where a lot of cultures generate their vampires from. So that was really fun to play with. Early on, people were rolling their eyes saying, "Oh no, Cult of Dracula is woke." And I'm like, well, do your research a little bit. Delve into mythology, and you'll see there's a purpose for it.
I hate that word /excuse though. It's just stop.
Yeah, it ticks me off, man. It's like, just shut up and enjoy a story. Nobody wants to hear.
Or don't. If you don't, that's perfectly okay. But you could just be like, yeah, it wasn't for me. You don't have to be an ass about it.
I don't know why we can't do that. We've got to be all up in everybody's business.
I don't know.
I think because
you gotta like what I like.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be confrontational about a thing. Not just easier, you get a lot more of a reaction to be confrontational rather than thinking about a thing, processing it, coming up with your own perspective and putting it out there. Because odds are, most people's perspective won't really move the needle. It won't connect with other people, and they'll just nod and go on about their day. Saying something harsh and cutting, that'll get attention.
And you see that a lot, on social media, YouTube, podcasts. It's just, they're just stirring up controversy to get clickbait. It's clickbait. They want to get views, which may, gets them paid. They don't really think this. They just want to stir you up, and it's just bullshit, man. It's like, it really is. I think
it's
we just
painfully cynical.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. We just need to get past it.
Yeah, I think it's beyond cynicism, though. It's just, it's a cry for attention and trying to get your 15 seconds in this culture. Mm-hmm. It's stupid. I hate it so much.
And it's a lot easier to tear something down than to build it up, and, I think some people they kind of get off on that. And
they definitely do.
Yeah, it's like, and I don't know why people just can't, you love what you love. I'm going to love what I love. I want to tell this story. If you want to tell a different story, sit your ass down and write something. Don't sit there on Facebook or Instagram or Reddit and tell, and criticize something that someone has actually created. It's like, get off your ass and do something, man. If you're so smart and you know how to tell so many stories, do it.
Yeah, and the flip side of that for me is I love a constructive criticism. I love well thought out, broken down. Here's what you did that was, I think, wrong. Here's what you did that I think is right. And here's why I will or won't be paying for this again.
Exactly. Criticism, it's part of writing. It's part of life. And it's part of making films. My background's in film and theater prior to writing comics. And, you need criticism. I don't want to live in an echo chamber, man. I don't want people just blowing smoke up my ass. I really want to hear. I love reviews that tear my stuff apart with constructive criticism. People who just, let's face it, most people, they don't even read it. They don't even watch the movies. People are criticizing movies before they've even started lensing.
Yeah.
When it's announced, they'll tear into it.
Exactly. And it's like, dude, shut up. Give the movie a chance to be made and then criticize it all you want.
Yeah. One word criticisms really chafe my ass.
Yeah.
Stupid, dumb, lame.
Yep.
Like, if that's your starter word, stupid, because, all right, not the best way to start your argument, but if you have more to it, I'll listen to it. But there's so many posts that are just shit. That's it?
Yeah. Tell me why.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about it. Let's learn something.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. That's not social media. And another thing I found is kind of what you said earlier. Things seem like they're these huge deals when you see them on social media, but that's because the algorithm is feeding you things that you're going to interact with. But you go in the outside world, like the thing with Assassin's Creed right now. Were people.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, Yasuke was he was a real character. He was Nobunaga's personal bodyguard, and he's very well documented in Japanese history. And these people, they're all complaining about it, but it's all on social media. You go out and ask the average gamer picking up Assassin's Creed, and they're like, controversy? What?
Yeah.
It's a great game.
Yeah, that's the thing they're focusing on, rather than the fact that Assassin's Creed games have been the same thing for like 15 years. There's no growth in the play style. That's something we should be making Ubisoft work on, not the fact that they got something right by going into history.
I mean,
I think every game after the first Assassin's Creed, it's been the exact same, but it's not been like Assassin's Creed. Yeah. It's been a totally different mechanic, and I still think Assassin's Creed is one of the best games I've ever played. I mean, it's right up there with The Witcher 3.
The first one, absolutely.
Yeah. You know what's weird with Assassin's Creed? That came out relatively around the same time as Arkham Asylum, and I rented Assassin's Creed, and there was something, I had no idea what the setup for it was, and when you start off with the Animus and with all this sci-fi stuff, I was automatically like, whoa, what is going on here? I don't know if I like this. And then I got into the play style, and I was like, I really don't think I did. And then Arkham came out, and I just went,
like, let's move.
Yeah, like Batman done right. This is what I want.
Yeah.
Sorry, Assassin's Creed, you're just not my thing. And
but you lost out to Batman.
Yeah, but I don't bag on it. I watch a lot of videos online about people breaking it down, the issues it has. I'm like, all right, that's some of them are valid, some of them are very valid, but I don't shit on people who like Assassin's Creed.
Right. I mean, what game doesn't have flaws? Every game has flaws. I mean, The Witcher 3, I think, is the closest to a perfect game ever made, but it's got flaws. The fighting mechanics are a little wonky sometimes, and there are plot lines that kind of drag on and don't make sense, but the overall quality of the game is amazing. So I like to find what I love about things rather than rip it apart about the things I don't.
I'm a huge lover of the Horizon games, Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, but I'll freely admit, there's issues. There's a lot of issues. But I just love running around shooting arrows at robot dinosaurs. Like,
it's so cool, man.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, and Aloy, she's such a badass character, man. And the story, her story about how she is who she is, it's engaging, man. It's movie quality story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the show that they're saying they're doing. I'm apprehensive because that's one of those they could really shit the bed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could also add so much more to it. It's so cinematic on its own.
That world
Right.
is
Where it
so
goes,
huge.
I don't know if you played Forbidden West.
I have.
The sci-fi elements that come in later on, I've heard complaints about, but I loved it. It was just building on what was set up before.
Exactly. I mean, you're fighting little robot animals. You know you're going to get a sci-fi spin eventually.
Yeah, a big one.
And if you don't, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, you can't really just go back into the tribalism constantly. It's got to expand, and it should. I don't necessarily say it's got to, but the fact that it becomes so high concept sci-fi, what's wrong with that? Justin, you have a question to throw out.
Yes. Rich.
Yes.
What you got on that shelf behind you?
A ton of manga. I am coming to you from my store, Wonderland Comics in Cookeville, Tennessee. I also own a comic book store.
That's fucking cool.
That's dedication.
I've owned comic book stores since 2007. This is my fourth store. I like to build concepts of stores and then sell them to other people and go off and build a new concept. My first store was aimed at tourists. It was on a beach town, so we really aimed at tourists with the new floppy issues and things like that. And then my second store was a little bit of a mix of everything. We had card games and stuff like that. My third store was all about the collectible books. And now we're here at Wonderland, and everything's about readers. Probably 60% of the store is graphic novels and back issues. We dedicate a very small area to collectible key issues. And we've got, I'm looking at them right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 6 spinner racks that have new comics on them. So, each store that I've owned has been a little bit different and had a little bit different concept.
It seems like the way you describe them, they get more and more sincere as you've gone along. Like the first one's to the masses a bit more, then it's a bit more of a focused concept, and now you're down to the point where it's, I'd like my customers to care about this. I don't just want foot traffic, I want individuals to interact with.
Yeah, and that's it's been great with Wonderland. And we're right next to a university, Tennessee Tech University, and we get a lot of kids over there who they love the graphic novels. It's kind of hard to sell new floppies. Personal opinion, floppies are dead. And that's why we're taking Angel Hunter. We're not releasing it in floppy issues. You're getting manga-sized volumes, trade paperbacks, essentially. I mean, the smallest volume is 96 pages. So you're getting a lot of story, and that's a lot easier to sell. It's like I tell somebody they can pay $5 for for 28 pages of story, or you can come over here and get one of these Image Volume 1s, pay $10 for an entire story arc. And, which one are you going to buy? If you're not a collector, and I don't. Something I learned at my last store: collectors don't read comics, and that hurts, man. It's like they just collect them. They'll buy 5 copies. They'll send them all off to CGC, and then they throw them in a box and never touch them again.
That is a sad state. Yes.
Man.
I'm one of the last schmucks who I've been collecting since 1990. Well, you get
By
handed
proxy.
over my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last schmucks that buys weekly. And I don't always go for variants, but I just go for the cover I like. I go for the stuff I'm into right now. I still have that early 90s mentality of this is what I want. All right, this series has lost me, or this artist has lost me. Moving along.
Yeah, it's really cool that you brought up the 90s, because I think that was really the first golden age of independent comics. You had all these small press publishers, and they were putting out some super rad books. And, I think probably from around 2019 to 2023, we were in a real golden age, a new golden age of independent comics. You had Image, you had Aftershock, you had Red 5, you had Source Point Press, and they're all putting out these really cool books. Now, the Diamond thing, kind of really put the indie scene in a tailspin. But I think also what that's revealed is we're in an age where
I think I have to cut you off. I'm sorry. We don't have much time left. We're almost
no worries.
But because we had such a great comic conversation, we absolutely want to have you back sometime. Like closer to when it launches.
Because we don't get to talk comics a lot with the rest of the group because they're not readers. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that StreamYard, and then we could have time.
We could talk for hours. I like you guys.
Because Yeah.
Angel Hunter coming out April 25th, you said, right?
Yes.
The Kickstarter starts April 25th. You got 30 days to get involved with that, folks. Based on just talking to Rich, I suggest you do. He seems like a great guy. And if I'm down, my mom lives in Tennessee. I'll be down there eventually. Hopefully I can swing by your spot.
Yeah, dude, come visit, man. We'll take you out. I'll show you all the good restaurants and everything. We'll have a good time.
Beautiful. How do we usually end this? Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's
we just say fuck
interview.
bye. Our sign-off is fuck bye.
Yeah.
Nice.
Follow all the things.
Yeah, Nerdaties, especially Angel Hunter. Check it out on Kickstarter, everybody.
Rich, got any other socials you want to plug real quick?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram. My horror stuff is at World of Dracula. Angel Hunter is at Angel Hunter, and then me, I'm just Rich Davis Comics. So look me up. We'll have a good time. Love to chat.
I'm happy we got everything out, and I'm really happy with the conversation we had. It's so rare. My headache is gone because we talked.
Oh, nice. I was worried I was rambling a little bit too much.
No. We want convo.
Yeah, this is comics and video games. The only other stuff we need to talk about next time is movies and pizza. We almost always have pizza.
Yeah, we almost always.
Pizza. We got a great reaction. We're right around the time that the Kickstarter launches. We will have you back, Rich.
Right on, man. I'm happy to come back.
Because of the end of civilization, the Clamp Cable Network now leaves the air. We hope you have enjoyed our programming, but more importantly, we hope you have enjoyed life.